This is my 2017 GMC Sierra. It's a 2500 HD with a 2022 Overland Explorer vehicles, Hudson Bay flatbed camper on it, and a completely custom tray that I designed and fabricated myself. I bought this truck because my first truck in 2005 when I graduated from high school was a 2005 Chevy Silverado, almost identical to this truck. Both trucks 6-liter gas engine with the automatic transmission behind it, both regular cab, long bed, 4-wheel drive. That 2005 Silverado, I still own it. It has almost 300,000 miles on it, and it's still a shop truck today. It was at Overland Expo last year. I drove that truck from Oregon with 180,000 miles on the clock all the way to South America and back. Crossed over 200,000 miles on the Altiplano of Bolivia. So when I came back to the States and it was time to build another truck as a demo for our shop, I picked basically the same thing, just a little bit newer with lower miles on it. I bought this truck with 50,000 miles and I'm at 150, just crossed 150K on this trip. And it's been almost flawless, just like the old one. So for me, this GM 6-liter gas platform's been really reliable, does everything I need. The only thing it really does that is a downside is, boy, does it burn gas. Other than that, it's great. The 2005, I re-geared it to 488s and installed a Detroit locker in the rear. And that worked so well on the Pan American that I did exactly the same thing to this truck. I actually knew what truck I was gonna buy before I even bought this model or this unit. I had the parts on the shop floor, ready to go when it came in. So this truck has some stuff that's different than my old one. I went ahead and tires just keep getting bigger. And this one has the 6-speed transmission. So with the 488s, it actually handles the 37s really well. 37-inch Geolanders, 37 by 12.5 on 17-inch factory Steely wheels. I personally really like the factory rims. The factory engineers put a lot of work into these things. They're actually really good. I know everyone upgrades their wheels, but for me, these work great. We actually find the narrower wheels with the big fat tires really holds the rubber onto the rim. I very consistently air down into the teens and sometimes for snow into the high single digits on this truck, even though it weighs 9,500 pounds. So holding that rubber to the metal, it's pretty important to me without overcomplicating everything. I know you can go bead locks and stuff. This, I just don't feel like I need that. That's more of a really low single digit PSI rock crawling thing. The factory Steelies work great. Plus they're shit cheap. You can get them for like 50 bucks on eBay. If you bend one, you could just hit it with a hammer and smack it back straight. And I kind of like the way they look. So we're gonna kind of see more of this as we talk about the truck, but my personal aesthetic is sort of OEM plus. I want it to look pretty factory plus. So I've got a lot of little details on it like that. To fit those tires, I'm a big believer of the smallest lift possible with the fattest rubber inside that you can fit. And on this truck, I went ahead and kind of went all out on my dream suspension. From the factory, these trucks come with torsion bars, and we yanked those out and did a Kibitech coilover conversion underneath. So the upper and lower A-arms are completely custom by Kibitech. The shocks are 2.5-inch King coilovers up front, and then 2.5-inch Kings out back, tuned and built by AccuTune. Rear springs are Alcan, and on my trucks, all my IFS trucks, I basically yank the sway bar immediately. So there's no sway bar on this truck, not on the front, not on the rear. I get a little bit more body roll. It's very predictable, and it really makes a difference off-road. This thing actually does kind of rip for a house with a garage on it. So I really try to keep the weight down. This is a big, heavy truck. It weighs about 9,500 pounds fully loaded. A lot of times I'm a little bit under 9. I'm about 8,900, but on a long trip to Baja, something like that, I usually hit 9,500 pounds. Has almost a 10,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating, so the truck actually handles the weight really well. But that's partly because I really put a lot of effort into keeping it as light as possible. The custom tray that I built, the box is the heaviest part. I think the box weighs about 300 pounds. The tray itself, it weighs about 70 pounds. I put it on by myself. Just pick it up, drop it on the frame and bolt it down. And that was very purposeful. I was really trying to keep the weight down. I don't have rear storage boxes on this tray. I don't need them. I don't carry enough stuff. The boxes weigh, the stuff you put in them weighs more. So I'm really conscious about the things that I add and the way that they add weight. So I work really hard at keeping it light. The bumper, I haven't really found a need for a really large bumper with a lot of protection. But I do like to do a lot of snow wheeling, and I really get stuck a lot in the snow. And so up in the Sierras, a winch is super handy in the snow. And I actually took a long time to get a winch on this truck because there wasn't a bumper out there that really matched what I wanted for the truck. It didn't keep it light enough. I didn't want to add a bunch of weight to the front, and I wanted to keep that kind of OEM plus aesthetic. We installed a Come Up Solo 12.5, and they're really nice Hawes fair lead along with their hook, and I think it came out really nice. All synthetic rope and everything. Like I said, trying to keep the weight down as much as possible, and it looks pretty sleek to me. I really like the way it came out. Pretty happy with it. Keeping the factory bumper wings. I just have always kind of liked the way that bumper with this truck looks. It kind of feels like an old square body to me, the big square headlights and stuff. So I wanted to keep a little bit of that chrome on there. As far as aftermarket lighting, personally, I don't really drive at night that much. And honestly, if your headlights on a modern vehicle are aimed well, you're gonna be able to see pretty well. If I'm trying to find camp in the dark, I did something wrong. So we didn't spend a bunch of time and money on a lot of aftermarket lights, but we did go through Baja Designs and put in their fogs, their amber fogs, because I do drive in the snow quite a bit. I ski out of this truck, live in Reno in the Sierra, and they do work really great in whiteouts and bad weather. I always really wanted a way to carry large toys like my mountain bike and paddle boards and things like that. And there just wasn't anywhere on that. I've always really been a truck guy because they're better off-road. All the reasons, obviously, you're on a truck camper channel. But I was a little jealous of vans because they could get their toys in the rear garage. So I actually sort of designed this entire build around this bike box. I had the idea kicking around in my head for a long time, and then finally built it. And it just gives me so much storage for large items. I can actually get 2 bikes in here, several sets of skis, my crash pad for bouldering, inflatable stand-up paddle boards. It's awesome for all that stuff because I take the truck out to support the other things that I do, the fun stuff to do outside. So I can get all the toys in the top, and then of course I still have all the functional stuff on this side, on the driver's side. I basically just have access to my chairs, my camp chairs, and then I keep all my tire tools and stuff right here, as well as recovery gear. So I can just jump out of the truck, grab my inflator or my deflator, and get to work on the tires. Right out of the driver's side, tools, tires, done. On this truck, we installed twin Viair 485Cs, air compressors, built them in. They're actually underneath this box between the frame rails. I really like to install air compressors somewhere underneath the truck. I don't think there's a good reason to put an air compressor inside a box or inside your truck. They should be outside. I don't want to see it all the time. I don't want to hear it, and I don't want to take up valuable storage space for something that can just live outside. On this truck, we plumbed air chucks to both sides so that I can just snap the hose in, air up the front, air up the rear, pop it off, and go around to the other side. I just think it's really convenient. Also, I have 2 chucks here for my airbags, which I almost never use unless I'm maybe towing a trailer. These are the airlift bags that actually have the bump stops inside them so you can run them at 0 PSI. They're almost always at 0 PSI. But one of my other little favorite tricks is because they're right here and this close to the inflator or to the truck, I can pump some air into one side and level the truck out at camp. And then one of my favorite little truck camper tricks is install a T-level right over top of the driver's side window on the underside. then you can see from the driver's seat without getting out, without a bunch of stuff, without arguing with your wife if you're level or not, if the truck is flat. On this side of the box, that's where all the magic really happens. It has a slide tray, so that's how I get the bike out. But I also keep tools on this side as well as my little propane firebox, which is actually what this tank is for. It's not for the camper. This is just for my propane box. Because as you guys know, fire ban's almost permanent now. Please don't catch the forest on fire. Get yourself a nice propane box. Inside the box, I basically always have at least one bicycle in here. And right now, because we're going to an event, I have a few flags and stuff instead of the rest of my toys. But like I said, on the other side, usually climbing gear and stuff as well. I store the wheel off. And the tray just slides out like that. And then I just have to twist the handlebars like that. And I keep a tool handy and I just tighten them up. And honestly, I almost never end up with them not straight. You just get really good practice, and having them like right here, it is very easy to align them. But I really, really love the bike box because I really love my bike. And I want to keep it inside, out of the weather, and I want to go into Safeway and not worry about it. Also, this box sort of seems invisible. I've had it down to Mexico a ton of times now. You go through all the checks, you go through the borders, both going north and coming south. I've never one single time had anyone ask to look in this box. So I don't think anyone would ever even try to break into it. And it is, of course, lockable. So I really, really, really like having my bike in here. I ride all the time, and it's always with me. And it's safe and clean, so.
Hey, KP, what's that cactus?
Oh, this cactus?
That cactus.
You know, I'm a little fuzzy, but I think my friends got it in Arizona somewhere on the way down for a Baja surf trip. And they gave it to me. I washed some dishes with it, and it started to smell bad, as these things do. I didn't want to throw it away because I thought it was pretty cool, but I sure as shit didn't want to leave it in my house. So I hung it off of here as a good luck charm, and it's been on here about 8 months now. Other than I just really like them, one of the big benefits of these GM trucks is it's really easy to fit a full-size spare underneath in the factory location. And by full-size, I mean this is a 37-12-5, same as all the others. I do a 5-tire rotation. A set of tires is 5. Do a 5-tire. But I really like to keep the spare underneath in this factory spot. It's a good spot for the weight. It keeps it down and low, and it's not hanging off the back in some weird spot up high, way behind the rear axle, messing up the weight. Like I said, I do drive this thing pretty hard. I wheel it. It gets launched in Baja sometimes, and all the dents on the door I earned. So I like to keep the weight down and low. That's something that's really important to me. And keeping this tire down here is a really good way to do that. I've beefed up the winch system just a little bit, but for the most part, it's factory and took almost no modification to get a full-on 37 under here. And I mean, you guys have all seen the intro. You know where my ladder is. It's right here. If you haven't seen it, rewind. But I don't have a drawer on this. I just have a little belly pan. Again, keeps it light, keeps it simple. I just have a ladder and a shovel in here. They don't need to be inside a drawer. I store my socks inside. Inside, it looks pretty stock, and honestly it is. But one big change I made in this truck is, like we talked about earlier, it's a regular cab. Keeps the wheelbase super short. Wheelbase on this whole truck's actually 134 inches. So it's pretty maneuverable for something this big. But in regular cabs, you really can't get nice seats. So we actually took a set of seats out of a Denali and wired them for heat and power. And then I had Catskin come in and totally recoat them in this nice leather. With the red stitching and stuff, it just looks cool. So they did such a nice job. They actually look like they might have been a high-end factory option. But these seats, totally custom. We just kind of worked some magic to get them to work. You know, GM's really good. All the stuff bolts up, but we put some extra effort into it. This console goes ahead. It does fold up. So if I need to bring along a third person, which is pretty rare, it's not a problem. Recently got a 3D printer and I love it. So I 3D printed a cup holder that holds my hydro flasks, and it also looks basically stock, which I'm stoked about. One other thing we did in this truck that is actually a factory option, just wasn't available in this truck, are these aux switches. This was an obnoxious amount of work to make work. It would have been so much easier to put in an S-Pod or something, and those are great products. But again, OEM plus, I really just wanted it to look factory in here. So we got these off eBay, wired them up, and now they run the air compressor and a couple other accessories. Because the bike box consistently and always blocks the rear window, there's no longer rear view mirror in here. We actually have one of these full-time on cameras. Anytime the truck is on, it's pointing out back. So it's not a reverse camera, it's on all the time. And I love that. I have it in both my trucks. I really like to see what's going on behind me. It's super high quality, works pretty well at night and in the day. I think they're 1080p, so super good. The rest of the dash is pretty clean. I also have a Yaesu radio that I mounted down underneath and just a simple ram mount up here. I really don't like things cluttering up the dashboard, stuck to the windshield. I'm there to see out the windshield, not stare at stuff inside. Pretty commonly just put my phone in the ram mount and then use Android Auto to project either Google Maps or Gaia right on the factory screen.